She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. I'm Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today's going to be an amazing and very special show. It's going to be a show that I believe is going to challenge you because you might be thinking, no, that can't possibly happen. Not where we're at. No, there's just no way, Dani. So far, those kind of things happen overseas. Those kind of things don't happen right here. And now you're going, wait, what are you talking about? What is this that is happening? Today, joining me is a very talented, special man with an incredible vision and a track record. Somebody who came from law enforcement who now is making a massive impact in the world of sex trafficking. I can't wait for you to hear how he has been used by his God that has directed him every single step of the way. And now 30 plus years later, hundreds and hundreds of children that are now adults living a life that is healed, as normal as it possibly can be, functioning in society after being badly abused and raped as children, paid to be raped by who? Yeah, our own citizens. Disgusting, isn't it? You know that we have partnered with King's Ransom Foundation to set free 1,000 slaves from the sex trade. So joining me now, Phil, right here, we're filming in San Diego, California, which is right where he started. This is when he got the vision for this particular mission that he and his two sons have been on. So get ready because you're going to enjoy what's about to take place. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I had gotten an email from King's Ransom letting me know that they had found you. And when I started to hear your story, when I started to hear the craziness of your journey, I had to meet you. I absolutely had to meet you. So it worked out perfectly because we're here in San Diego. We're about to do a conference for about 600 people coming from 11 different countries. So it worked out really, really perfect that we had our cameras, that we could actually pull the whole thing together. And so anyway, so tell us, you have been involved in freeing children from the sex trade for how many years?
30.
That's a long time.
Actually, a little longer because we started the ministry 30 years ago, but I was in law enforcement before that, and we were actually involved in rescuing girls.
So what prompted you?
Well, I was working San Diego as a police officer, and we had gotten a call to back up the FBI on a sting operation. And they had 11 girls that were U.S. girls with single moms mostly.
Wow.
Ages 14 to 17. And they had found out about this professional modeling agency, which wasn't, of course.
Wow.
And the guy was really smooth because he would build a relationship with the moms, build that trust, and then he comes out and says, hey, we've got an opportunity to go to Paris for a photo shoot. Well, what 14-year-old girl's not going to go ballistic, And the moms are thinking, and they don't want to, but they trust this guy. They've known him for a while.
So they were sending their kids.
He said, I'm going to have them chaperoned, sign a release.
So sending these daughters.
Yeah, so they were going to send their daughters with this guy, with a chaperone, to Paris, but they had been sold for $20,000 apiece.
Oh!
And they were going to Greece and then Turkey, and then they were going to be gone. So they were already sold. So what happened was we got a call to back them up, and then there were shots fired, and so we didn't know what was going on. But what ended up happening was the girl that was the informant, he found out that she had called. And so he tried to kill her. And so she jumped into a commercial trash can, which we fished her out of, and then basically went up and rescued the 11 girls. And they were mad at us at first. They were like, you wrecked our trip. We're like,
they had no idea.
Yeah, they trusted this guy.
Okay, but hold on. So how in the world did you guys find out that these girls were sold for $20,000 apiece?
Well, the FBI had been working the case. So we came in as backup. And I grew up in a Christian home, and I was a cop, but I'm still, believe it or not, a little naive into what goes on. And I'm going to this going, this is happening here in the United States?
Here in San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. I was blown away. And so it really...
Because San Diego at that time, I mean, San Diego's huge now.
Right.
Like, it's this huge, city, and
Yeah.
there's traffic, and, I was here as a kid. My mom actually broke her neck down here when I was 11 years old.
Yikes.
So, yeah, but it wasn't it wasn't like it is today.
Yeah.
So 30 years ago, it wasn't like this crazy raving city. You know what I mean?
Well, we had horses, but it was good.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It was like it wasn't like it is today. So it's not the place that you would think that sex trafficking is actually happening.
No, and here's the sad part is that it's actually gotten multiple worse. Like, I don't even know I don't want to exaggerate because I don't like doing that, but it's gotten a lot worse since that time period. And I think the reason for it, not to rabbit trail, but I think the reason for it is when people started to become aware of it and they started this awareness thing, laws changed, TSA became part of the makeup. And I think that the traffickers realized that, hey, we can't transport girls across state lines as easy and across the border. But guess what? There's a flurry of girls that we can get within the country. And I think that the domestic sex trafficking exploded post TSA, because then they got girls that were runaways. There were so many girls that were available that they could just recruit them, and they recruit them 3 different ways, and I can go into that if you want. But
okay, but hold on, it's time out. Okay. Time out. Like, wait, you just dropped a huge bomb. You just said that since 9/11, that because the crackdown on travel, right? And, everybody's checking IDs now, right? Because we all used to be able to travel without ever checking.
Right.
I could fly from here to New York and no one's checking my ID.
Right.
I'm not getting molested by TSA to get on an airplane.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
I could have my water with me. I could bring my yogurt with me. Now I can't bring any of that. So you're saying that what happened with 9/11 and with the major crackdown, that has actually increased the sex trafficking in the U.S.?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah.
You have to tie the rope together there, because that just blows my mind.
Well, and I'll tell you what happened was, I think that the people were, the perpetrators were recruiting girls and taking them into Mexico.
Taking them out of the country.
Taking them out, selling them, okay. Taking them in, like the case that we had where they were flying out. There was no checks, no TSA.
So the Turks and the Greeks wanted American girls.
They were, oh yes, absolutely. And it still happens, but not to the level that it used to happen, in my opinion. So based on my research, it became a problem where, okay, there are over 2 million existing runaways today. And out of those 2 million runaways, just in the United States, a lot of those girls are not runaways.
Right.
The parents think, I can't count how many girls have come into our program as troubled teens, and my staff has pegged them and said, you're not troubled, you're trafficked. And in fact, one really, really cool story, a girl came in, Tiffany, my manager, the one I think you saw in the video, she was saying, I think you've got another story to tell. No, I'm fine. I'm a troubled teen. I want to be here. And Tiffany's like, no,
She could sense
She
it.
could sense it. And a long story short, she finally got the girl to break and asked the girl, why did you not tell me from the beginning? She said, because I was scared you would kick me out. Because as a prostitute, which she's obviously not, she's been victimized, she felt that we would kick her out of the program. So Tiffany said, give me your hand, grabbed her hand, walked her across the campus and said, now you're with these girls. And so it was just super cool, because this girl, what a God thing that she would come to a program under one pretext,
Right.
thinking that she would not be able to stay.
Right.
But then we had another program she didn't know about that's in
Yes.
secret, and we just took her over to there and said, here are the girls that you're gonna get along with. And so she, of course, was crying and just super excited, did really, really well. So I think it's just been an exciting journey for me to just see how God's worked in moving us forward. The awareness thing is a good thing, but here's where it can be bad. it desensitizes people.
It does.
Because you get to a point where you talk to people and they just shut down because they're like, hey, I can't help that situation. So it hurts too much to hear about it. So please just stop.
And there's so many people that just love to just, blow the trumpet for something and never do anything about it. And that's what I love about King's Ransom, because King's Ransom just doesn't bring awareness to something. No, it's like, we're talking about this because we are challenging you to do something about it. And we're challenging you to think about it differently versus what you just said. Like, oh, it's just such a big problem. Or, oh, this doesn't happen on our turf. This is the United States. We don't do that here. No, we do that here to the tune of what? Millions of kids, which is disgusting. Millions of children that are being sold into the sex trafficking world, being shipped abroad and or staying right here. And it's happening right in our neighborhoods. Just like what you're saying, right here in San Diego.
Yeah.
This was in your neighborhood where we have 11 girls being sold for $20,000 a hit. That's just mind-blowing to me. And now it's grown exponentially in this country.
Yeah.
And so when you say that you're saying that when people bring awareness, and by the way, I'm not letting you off the hook this easy. Here's the facts. Go to kingsransom.org and you will see right on the homepage there is a slider and it says Rescue 1,000. That is our campaign. We are rescuing 1,000 children, 1,000 kids from the sex trade. And we're doing it along with Phil as well as other organizations that we are not bringing awareness to. No, supplying food or counseling or the extraction, the shelter, the safe place, the love, the care, the healing of their hearts, as well as in some places the training and skill development so that they can function completely healed and restored, whole, and enter right back into society, whether it's finishing their education, whether it's learning new trades, new skills so that they can actually get jobs and or in many cases start their own businesses. There's been so many of them that have started their own businesses and have become very successful, gotten married and had their own families, and many of them who then turn around and help other kids get out of the sex trade. And so kingsransom.org, that's the website you want to go to. 100% of your money goes straight to taking care of one of these poor victims that have been suffering greatly and badly abused. When I open this is powerful right here. The pictures you have in here in this little pamphlet, this is a real girl beaten. Badly beaten. So do you see these girls this way?
Yeah, and I think that what they do is there's 3 ways that they recruit them. It's called guerrilla, Romeo, and professional.
Okay,
so I already explained the professional. A front.
The professional, a front.
Some sort of front. The secondary.
It's almost like money laundering, but it's sex trade children laundering.
Yeah, it's just fraud. It's just complete fraud.
Wow.
The second way is guerrilla, and that's when they just grab them off the street and take them. And we have a girl in San Diego who's starting nursing school, which I tried to get to come today. But she is amazing. And they grabbed her off the street and took her to Mexico.
What do you mean they grabbed her off the street?
She was just walking down the street.
No way.
And she was,
how old was she?
12.
No.
And they grabbed her off the street.
Wait, where was a 12-year-old on the street?
Well, it wasn't like she was in a bad area. She was in her own neighborhood.
So just walking,
just
like
walking
where?
down the neighborhood.
To school or?
I'm not sure where she was going to or from, but
so
it was
just in a normal family neighborhood.
Yeah, it was one of those like really sad, sick situations that you don't hear about because they don't talk about.
So tell me about the neighborhood though. So because somebody thinking right now that's watching this is like, oh, she probably lived in the ghetto and that's where she got ripped out, or was this just like a normal family neighborhood?
I think it was kind of a northwest San Diego.
Which means what?
Probably like Rancho Bernardo area.
Nobody watching knows where that's at.
That's why it's kind of hesitant. It's
so like, what is
San
that?
Diego's so big and there's so many.
So it's like a bad high crime area?
No.
Okay, so it's just like where we raised our kids.
It was probably lower middle class.
Okay, cool.
Middle class.
Where we raised our kids.
So they took her into Mexico. They sold her to a female slaveholder. We don't call them pimps. We call them slaveholders. Because if you say pimp, you're implying she's a prostitute. And she's not.
Right.
So they sold her to a slaveholder down there. They threw her in a closet for almost 2 weeks. And they gave her just water and the necessities to survive, to break her. They put her out on the street. The federales picked her up, found out she was a U.S. citizen, called the State Department. The State Department called the FBI. The FBI called Social Services. They called me. We met the girl at the border. We got most of our girls from FBI, DAs, and Homeland Security. So they just called me and said, hey, we just picked up a 14-year-old. We did a sting operation. Come get this girl. So we went, picked her up, and now she's got 2 children. She's doing really well. We just threw a baby shower for her. We have a bunch of volunteers that help out. And so this is the kind of story that we're experiencing, which is really higher than I thought. When I first got involved in this, I thought, oh, we'll be lucky if we can reach 8 to 15%. And I'll be thankful for that. But it's more like 80 to 90%. It's phenomenal. It blew my mind because the girls want help. They don't want to be in this life. They didn't choose it.
Exactly.
We rescued another girl from the FBI who had never been in school, trafficked her from Virginia all the way across the country.
How old?
She was 11, but they started it when she was 8.
What? In this country?
Yeah.
See, listen to me. No, these are the stories that we generally hear in Thailand, in Cambodia, in Vietnam. And everybody in our country just, we're kind of like, that doesn't happen here. That it's like such arrogance. But you're telling the exact same stories that we hear overseas.
Yeah, no, it is.
Like, that's the same story. A kid that is 8 years old, who trafficked her? Like, how did that happen?
So that's rare. She was trafficked by her mom and her grandmother. Okay, so that is not the norm. Like the other girl I told you about that was taken to Mexico. She had a family, pretty healthy family, mom and dad together. It's kind of a functional family. So there's different scenarios. There's never really one. The last one is a Romeo. That's the most common.
Wait. I'm sorry. My head is still spinning right now. I'm serious. I mean, the first time I heard about 8-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 6-year-olds being trafficked was about 18 years ago. And I personally have used my business all these years to help those kinds of kids, right? I grew up in a really bad situation here in Southern California and then the rest up in Northern California. And so I understand the pain. I was molested from the time I was 3 until I was 16. Partially by the man who I thought was my father. He started when I was 12, and then I moved out of the house when I was 16 because I was like, done. Like, this is not going to happen anymore. So, nonetheless, so my heart just bleeds for that. But the thought of a mother and a grandmother.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and
they're Americans,
and they were after her. So when we got her from the FBI, it took me.
I just need to know what is in the mind of a mother.
Yeah, I can't even begin to think of how anyone can do that to a child, let alone anyone, but then a relative or a parent to do that to a child.
Mother.
Well, it gets even worse, but I don't know if I want to tell you this other story. It's really ugly. But let me finish this one because this is a good ending. So this girl it takes me 8 months to get her. She's never been in school, can't spell, can't do anything. She stays with us for 2.5 years. We adopt her out to a Christian family. She's now doing amazing. Obviously did really well in school. Calls me every week, texts me every other day. I'm like her second dad, first dad, whatever. We adopt her out, so I want to give credit to that dad.
Sure.
He did a lot of good things. So we have another girl that we have in the program right now that was born to be exploited. So she was born off book, no birth certificate, so that she could be exploited
In the United States.
in the United States.
What state?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm trying to think of where that started. I honestly don't remember. It might come to me, but she sought help through an attorney who basically, it's very complicated, so I'm not going to get into the weeds on this story, but there was an actual murder that took place in her family that she was a witness to, and it got complicated, and so there was a lot of legal maneuvering. But this girl...
What was her nationality?
White. Yeah, she was...
What about the other girl that was being trafficked by her mom and her grandmother?
She is Hispanic, and then the girl we got at 11 is kind of probably Hispanic and white mix.
It's me.
Yeah, okay. And we get, all different races. It's not, we haven't seen a pattern
Really?
of a race in our experience. Some people say there is a pattern, but we haven't seen it. And so what we see is the pattern of how they get recruited like I was alluding to earlier, the most popular way is the Romeo, the boyfriend. So they pretend to be boyfriends, and they will date a girl for 8 to 9 months, but they'll be dating 5 or 6 girls, and they're basically what they call grooming them. And so then at some point they get them in a compromising situation. They film them, and then they say, "Well, we're going to tell your parents. We're going to tell." And I had this one girl. The mom called me and wanted to put her daughter in our troubled teen program, because we have a troubled teen program too. And I said, "Okay, fine." And so she started telling me the story, and I'm like, "Okay, does she stay out until like 2 in the morning, or does she stay out until 6 in the morning?" Now, do you get the difference?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so people don't get it until you ask the question, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Well, if you're staying out till 1 or 2 as a teenager,
hanging out with friends, you're drinking, you're partying, you're doing stupid things.
But you're staying out till 6 on a regular
you're...
basis. There's something wrong there. And so that was the first flag, and then of course there were other flags. And I said, I don't think, and I'm going to use a fake name, I don't think that Susie is a trouble kid. I think your child is a victim. And so can I talk to her? And so I talked to her on the phone and basically just asked the right kind of questions and made her feel safe. And then she said yes. And they threatened my brother, they threatened my mom, and I didn't know what to do. I'm only 14 years old. What am I supposed to do? And so she would sneak out at night and be prostituted all night long. She would sneak back home,
go to school,
have breakfast with mom, and go to school. Still pulled off good grades until mom started noticing a behavior difference, a depression. The school started to fall off, and that was like 6 months. And then that's when she called us. And sadly, I've had this conversation with parents more often than I ever thought I would. I thought, troubled teen, right? You deal with it straight on. But more and more, we are getting kids that are coming in as troubled teens, and we're finding out
they're being trafficked.
That they were being trafficked.
Wow, and that could be your teen, and you're not even aware of it, because there are so many.
Oh, the parents are clueless.
They are.
Because the kid's lying to them.
Well, or the parent doesn't know how to get the kid to open up to even them.
Well, they're afraid. If they think that mom or brother or whatever is going to be injured because of them releasing that information, it's a catch-22.
They're protecting.
They're protecting
their parents. Absolutely. So listen, it's obvious, right? It's right in your neighborhood. It could be your child walking down the street. It could be your niece, your nephew, your grandchild. It could be a family member, because even that, I'm just still, my head is stuck on this mother and this grandmother of a white girl. Actually, it doesn't matter what nationality the girl is, but I mean, that's just like, this isn't Thailand, this is America. It's like, it could be, like, your sister and your mother who are trafficking their daughter. Like, this is crazy.
I think what I've reckoned with from a spiritual standpoint, is that this starts with evil. That's the core. And then what happens is they devalue human life. Yes. And so once the devalue of human life takes place, they become a product. And once they're a product, it becomes all about the money. And so if you're in that mindset where you have no morality or no Holy Spirit to convict you of things that are wrong, it's no hard boy. You just go for it. And it comes, and you reuse the girl, and it's a steady income.
Gosh.
And you control that person by threats and intimidation. Wow. So it's pretty evil. But what's been the encouraging part is law enforcement people are amazingly compassionate. And I have found that, that DAs, FBI, I have this one detective in Oceanside. He's rescuing girls left and right, and he has a passion. He's calling me up all the time. How are they doing? And he'll go meet with them. And so there are a lot of people in law enforcement. And what's been cool is that we brought those people in to meet the girls.
Yes.
And say, look, you got to see the other side.
Yes.
There are police officers that are not just jerks.
Exactly. That's amazing. Yeah. So listen, as I was saying, I don't know if you're drawing the same kind of conclusions I'm drawing right now, but this is heartbreaking, especially for a so-called Christian nation, right? One nation under God. I don't know what God it is that we all think that we're serving, but we can't continue to turn a blind eye to what is happening inside of our neighborhoods and what possibly is happening inside of our families. That's a reality. And so there are kids that need your help. They need food. They need shelter. They need counseling. They need healing. They need education. As you just heard with these 3 stories that we just heard about, and just 2 of the ways that that these girls are being trafficked. Or no, did you share all 3?
As far as what?
The 3 different ways that they traffic them.
Yeah, Gorilla, Romeo, and Professional.
And Professional. Yes. So this is a real deal, and it's real right where you're at. So you can go to kingsransom.org right now, and you can make a difference. You know, overseas, it costs $400 a month to help to care for a girl who has been trafficked, and about $1,500 to get her out of a brothel or to extract her from the situation that she's in. Here in the States, it's unbelievably more expensive. It's disgusting how expensive it is to do it here. And our campaign, the King's Ransom campaign of Rescue 1,000 Kids from the Sex Trade, our goal with the 1,000, we've budgeted and looked at the whole picture worldwide, right? Because we have already been doing it worldwide for almost 20 years now. And so here in the States, your numbers are actually very modest. $4,000 per girl per month, which is crazy, right? So we go 400 in Cambodia, Vietnam, and Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand is $400 a month is our average over there. $1,500 for an extraction. Here, outrageously more expensive. Why don't you give light to that? Why is it it doesn't, listen, I raised 5 kids. It didn't cost me $4,000 a month per kid at all. Yeah. But mind you that my kids didn't go through this kind of extensive counseling and all of that. Maybe they should have with a mother like me.
You know, one of the interesting things, they did an intensive study here in San Diego, and they estimated that the industry, sex trafficking industry,
huge.
Was around $90 million. Okay. They found out it was 180 million. So it's out of control. And you know, whether it's a border, you know, state or city, it's just out of control. Iowa, they have a big problem in Iowa.
In Iowa?
And I'm like, really? I don't get it. So
they like these corn-fed girls.
Yeah. I think to answer your question about the financial is that, you know, I think common sense, you know, is everything's more expensive when you have to do it legally. And so to have the staff and pay minimum wage, which is going up all the time, you work
especially
comp,
in California.
Work comp is ridiculous. I mean, you've
horrifying.
got
Insurance, the force of insurance.
Right. And you got government fees and so on and so forth. And then my particular situation is that we're off grid to protect the girls, so girls can't be found by the sex perpetrators. You know, that gets expensive. We got property taxes and the property itself and the upkeep of the buildings. We have 30 buildings. 250 acres. We have a pool. We have a tennis court. We have not a tennis court. We have a track and field. And so all that maintenance and stuff is upkeep is expensive. The more and what I've done is I've gotten creative. Like we have a dog breeding program that raises money. Newfoundland dogs.
Good job.
And we're having a litter now, which is we're really excited about. And so that raises money. We also have the Troubled Teen program that subsidizes the traffic kids. So a traffic child comes into our program at no cost.
Right.
So it's
the troubled teens, their parents need to be supplying for that.
Exactly. They're taking responsibility and they're paying their tuition.
So there's some profit for that.
So we bring in about 1.7 million on tuitions, which helps to supplement. And then we have about $500 to $1 million in donations that help supplement the traffic kids. Right. We take them to court. They go into the doctor constantly. Some of the Medi-Cal rules are ridiculous, so we pay out of pocket.
Wow.
So and they're going to the doctor like every week.
Why?
They have infections. They have all sorts of. We have one girl that's having to have plastic surgery. We had one girl.
Why?
Well, I don't want to get into it because it's kind of inappropriate. They mutilated her, so they're going to have to do reconstruction. So
they mutilated a child.
Yes, because they wanted her to be more appealing, but it didn't work, and it actually caused more problems. So, like I said, it goes to evil. It's like, how can you get your head around someone being willing to do that to someone like this? And I got to reiterate, this child who is probably one of the worst victims I've ever met is excelling. she's happy, she's excited, she drives the staff crazy in a good way, because she's really energetic and excited, and she's doing excellent in school. And so to me, I am so thankful that God allowed me to be in a ministry like this, because this is super cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Yeah. So if you would like to help these girls who have been rescued by police, which I think is amazing, right? Because we often just hear not the greatest stories about police, you know what I mean? So our local police officers that are rescuing these girls and then making a phone call to this incredible man who is also a former police officer who has obviously been chosen by God to rescue these girls. So if you go to kingsransom.org right now, click on Rescue 1000 and do what you can. It costs a lot of money to free these girls here in the United States versus abroad. And the focus right now is the U.S. We want to help girls on our own turf, children that are on our own turf who have been ripped out of their own homes, whether they've been done by their own mother and grandmother, which is like beyond my understanding, and or they've been kidnapped by a boyfriend, or mom got them into modeling and it wasn't really modeling. Whichever way that these kids have been trafficked, they need food, they need shelter, clothing, education, counseling, and medical help. Can't imagine medical help. They need a safe place that's off grid. And unfortunately, that is a very, very expensive thing to do here in the United States. So $4,000 per girl is what your expenses are for the trafficking, correct?
Yeah, it's actually around 41, 42. But obviously, it helps when we have more kids in the school, because then that supplements it and it spreads things out. But that's what we've broken it down to. Much.
So if there's any part of that you can help, you can give something. So, and also I want you to commit to this. Not this be a one-time thing, because one time is, it's great to do something one time, but these girls need consistent care every single day, every single week, every single month. And it's not a quick fix.
No.
Like this takes
it's long term.
years.
Sure.
This takes years. And so you have some stories of girls who have been rescued when they were 8, 10, 12, 14, whatever, and now they're adults, and some of them are married and they've moved on with their life. I want you to tell us a little bit about that in a minute. So I want you to give something, whether it's $100 a month. What is the food cost for one girl? Can we just start there? Because someone might want to commit to that.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that one, but I honestly don't know. I've got a spreadsheet that basically breaks down everything from staffing to food to insurance to medical to witness protection. We do witness protection. If they go to court, we'll go with them. So we got that expense, and the medical, which is huge. We've broken our meals down to about $1.42 a meal.
That's awesome.
So it's not too bad.
No, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to take care of a girl, just providing her food, at least that kind of nourishment.
They can do the math and
they can do the math. So it's $1.42.
We feed them once a week, so it's not bad.
So 142. Can someone do the math for me really quick? So it's $1.50 times 3 in a day. So $4.50 times 30.
31. There's some months with you don't want them to go hungry for that one day.
Okay, so it's so it's $4.50 a day.
Yeah.
Is the cost times 31 days. So that could be something that you could do, that versus being that person who goes, it's a big problem, I can't really do anything. You've got electrical expenses. You're saying that you're completely off grid, so you're running generators.
Yeah.
So that you told me earlier was like
$18,000 a month.
$18,000 a month.
Yeah. And then we have counselors that come in that are MFTs.
What does that mean?
A marriage family therapist. Okay. And then we have a clinical social worker that are experts in what they call CSEC, which I don't really like that name, but that's what they call the girls. So they're experts in this field, and they get their services are really inexpensive because they're donating a lot of their time.
Wow.
They do get paid, but it's very minimal. It's like $50 an hour,
right.
And they travel.
Wow.
So it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So between shelter, food, education, everything, we're talking $4,000 a month. So you might be saying, "Oh gosh, I wish I could help one girl." You can help feed her. whether you are the one pitching in for the budget for the food or you're the one pitching in for the budget for the medical. You pick an amount on a monthly basis that you're going to be willing to help. Like, for example, this young lady who's been mutilated that now needs plastic surgery to be able to be normal again. And these kids, someone needs surrogate parents to come alongside. And it's not just the ones who are there on the ground, but it's the surrogate grandparents, the surrogate aunts and uncles. That can be you, by you going to kingsransom.org right now and giving all that you can. Not some, but all that you can, and make a monthly commitment to that. You can get it to where it automatically is going to come out of your account, to where you know automatically this girl, for example, the young lady who's been mutilated, that she is going to eat because you are going to help, or she's going to help some of this medical, some of this medical relief because you are being a surrogate brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandparent, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever age group it is that you are. You can literally be that surrogate family member that's coming alongside, that God clearly is using to help bring freedom, complete deliverance, and wholeness to a young kid who is a victim of a very, very sick industry. And it's an industry right in our, because there's no other way to make money here, right? I mean, we're in America, and we are missing ways to make money in America. So let's go ahead and sell children into the sex trade. It's disgusting. Inside this pamphlet, I love it. I love this picture because the one, a little bit to the right of the young lady who unfortunately had been mutilated. But the guy there says, "I paid to rape a child." He literally, it's a mugshot, and he's holding a sign that says, "I paid to rape a child." That's a reality.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And like I shared with you earlier, I would love to do a billboard on the freeway that puts a legitimate person,
all their faces,
and say that. Think of the deterrent that would be, because right now, when someone buys a young girl, the slaveholder tells the girl to lie. So if the girl is over 18, she'll be told to say that she's 15 because men want younger women.
That's not a younger woman. That's like a girl who's like, it's a girl.
Well, no, I mean, I get it, but this is what they want, right? So
they want a 15-year-old.
They want a younger one. So if they get,
what is up with that?
Yeah, it's twisted. If the girl is under 18, they will tell them to lie and say they're over 18. The reason is if they lie about being younger, there's no crime involved. If they're younger and they get busted, then they're going to get taken out. The pimp's going to possibly be exposed, and then the quote unquote John, the buyer, is going to get arrested for child molestation. So what happens, which is really pathetic, and I hope somebody changes the law, because we've been working on it with Congressman Royce and other people to try and change the law, is that if you and I go into a bank and we say we're going to rob this bank, and I tell you don't kill anybody because we just want the money, but then you go and you shoot somebody. Right. In the commission of a felony, I get charged with capital 1 murder too.
Oh, because we're together.
Yeah, and we're already committing a crime. Gotcha. So why is it when you're already committing a crime in prostitution,
all of a sudden the crime changes?
All of a sudden it's not a crime that she's underage, because all he has to say is, she told me that she was 18, and he gets a pass. Okay, now he may still get cited for prostitution, but he's not going to get a felony. He's going to get a misdemeanor. Wow. And so I think that we know as parents that when we tell our kid, look, if you don't put your bike away, I'm not going to be happy with you. Your kid's going, okay, got it, and the bike is left out. Right. But if you say you're going to lose your bike for 3 days, the kid goes freaky. Okay. Well, you say, well, you don't have to freak out if you don't leave your bike out.
That's right.
And so it's a motivation for them not to leave their bike out, and they usually don't.
Right.
What we're doing in our society is we're giving everybody a pass because we're not having the consequences outweigh the risk of doing it. Yep. So if we could change the laws to say, look, if you are with someone who is underage, we don't care what she told you.
That's right.
You're going to be charged with a felony.
That's right.
Guess what that's going to do to these people purchasing sex? Right. They're going to be careful. And
perhaps.
They're going to, it's actually going to save an 18, 19, 20-year-old who may look young, and the guy's like, no, I'm not going there. I mean, it will hurt the industry, and that's what we want to do.
Isn't it sad that it's an industry?
It is.
So tell me, you told me about one of the stories of one of the girls who's gone through the program, and now she's married, she has 2 kids, she's going to nursing school, she's doing great. Tell me another story a case that you have had that today, like, what's your success rate is what I want to know, because that's a question that people wonder. You're like, okay, so we take the girls in, we get them healed, we help them to get somewhat functional, they finish their education, then what?
Okay, so like I said to you earlier, when I first started, I thought if I got 15% that I had an impact on, I would be ecstatic. And that has just been exceeded.
What do you mean? So like if you had 10 girls,
so if
one of them would be successful.
Yeah, if you had 50 girls and one was successful, then I would have thought, okay, that's pretty good. Because based on my law enforcement experience, they're pretty hardcore kids, and they're hustlers, and they've learned to survive, and it's not their fault. That's how they've survived. So we've experienced so much more, and it's because they're resilient, and that's what's amazed me, and I think what you kind of alluded to is the resilience that God has put in us to be able to come back from tragedy like you did, or like these girls. That's amazing.
It is.
You know, because I honestly would just turn into an angry man and hurt somebody, you know, and I want to hurt people anyway because of what I see, you know, but the amazing thing is that these girls didn't choose this. They don't want it. And so they're so resilient. And if you give them, once you get past the antitrust thing, because they don't trust anybody. Once you get past that, you just see them just blossom into these beautiful women who are excited about life and want to do things. And so what we've seen is a couple of girls going to nursing, a couple of girls going to IT. I'm trying to think of, you know, off the top of my head. One thing that we don't do is we don't pursue the girls after they leave. If they want to come back, we let them. But what we learned early on is that this is, for some of these girls, it was so horrifically tragic. I mean, it is for all of them, but they deal with it differently. Some of them want to move away. They don't want to bring that to their new life. And we want to respect that. So we don't do polling to see how they're doing, you know, but a lot of the girls come back. Like we have girls right now that have graduated the program probably 2, 3, 5 years ago, and they still show up at the campus. If they're like having a bad day or it's a holiday and they don't have anybody to hang out with, they just come up and they just hang out with the staff. And so, you know, and for the girls that are from a distance, they will text me, I will call them, wish them a happy birthday, you know, those kind of things. And so you do build a very strong relationship with these girls. And they're just sweet kids.
That's amazing. Phil, thanks so much for sharing, man. I'm so grateful that you came, and I'm really grateful that I got to meet you and that God's using the way He is. There needs to be more men out there like you, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. So please do not be like too many couch sitting, potato chip eating, wine drinking, beer drinking. Not that you shouldn't drink wine or beer, but just don't be a lazy. Not going to say the word that wants to come out of my mouth. But don't be that person and do something. You can help, and you can help right now, even if it was just providing the food, right? Come on. We all have money that is going towards stupid things that have no purpose. We all have money in our budget that's going to stupid things like Himalayan pink salt, instead of buying the regular salt that's actually healthier for you for 50 cents instead of $4.88 for this tiny little jar. We all are going out to eat. All of us are shopping when we don't need anything more in our closets. All of us are eating out 3 and 4 times a week. None of us need to be doing that. All of us can come together and say no more sex trafficking. We can say that right here, right now, today. By doing what? Come on, take your Starbucks budget that's bloating your belly, giving you gas, making you fat, and driving your energy up for a minute and then dropping you down like you just fell out of an airplane. Come on, friend. You know that it's not healthy for you. Why don't you take that money and point it towards helping to feed or clothe, shelter, educate, bring through healing processes, counseling? Come on, like you can actually make a difference. And right now you have room on your campus for 50 more girls that have been trafficked.
Probably 30.
30, okay.
Without building up more houses
Okay,
and stuff. Yeah.
so I heard it was 50.
Yeah.
So you have room for 30 more girls right now, just as your campus is at the moment.
Yeah, and we're actually, the FBI and the DA and the Homeland Security has asked us to start a shelter here in San Diego. So when they get picked up.
Would they like to pay for it?
Yeah, I asked them about that.
That's a great question.
Seriously, I have DAs.
Sure, we'd love to. Would you like to pay for it?
I have DAs that call me at 11:30 at night.
Wow.
San Diego DA. She
Wow.
calls me at 11:30 at night and says, you need to get on this. And now, and when we first had the response time, we basically said, hey, can we respond within like 2 days? You know, and she said, no, 2 hours. I want you here in 2 hours to pick up that girl.
Gosh.
And so
we need
they're
room.
screaming for a house where they can, when they rescue a girl at
They can bring
2 in the morning, they don't have to put her in Child Protective Services units. They can put her in a home immediately.
Wow.
And so we're working on that right now.
Wow. So all of this takes money, especially if it's San Diego, California, you know, and the place in which you're housing, which somebody donated you that 258 acres. I mean, God has pulled the whole thing together for you, which is another story all unto itself. Yeah. That when God gives a vision, he always brings the way to make that thing happen. And that's exactly what he's done. And so obviously we need help in rescuing these kids, and you don't need Starbucks, and you don't need all your extra little habits, and you don't need to buy more clothes, and you don't need more shoes, and you don't need another stupid bag. You do not need more food. Come on, everybody in our country right now needs to drop a few. So you don't need the 4 different gym memberships, plus all the nice workout videos that you have on top of that. Not to mention the $500 a month you're spending on vitamins or essential oils and specialty shampoos, and the list goes on of all the need. And by the way, all the extra tools that are inside of your garage that you don't even use. Come on, let's put purpose to money, especially as we're coming up here in the Christmas season. Rather than buying your kids that do not appreciate the plastic toy made in China, they lose interest the minute they open the second toy. Why don't you instead point the money with great purpose? Call your family together and say, hey, there are kids who have been in our own country, in our own neighborhood, that have been literally sold by their own mother or grandmother. I just want to find those 2 women and just give them so glad God healed me, because this would have been a really bad. I used to be a fighter. I don't know if you've picked that up. You know, you're a former cop.
I have the same feelings.
I don't know how you don't strangle those people.
If I wasn't a Christian, there would be some
there's
problems.
times where I want to hang that up on the shelf for a minute and just go take care of business and then come back and ask for forgiveness. Justice, yes. Anyway, but the bottom line is that there's too many bratty kids out there that have too many pairs of shoes, too many pairs of pants, too many toys, not to mention all the electronics and, of course, their little iPad. And they're still whining. They're still whining. Not to mention all the stupid food that you're putting in their lunch. They're actually giving it away. You don't even realize it. You can actually just take a portion of it. So meet with your family and begin to campaign alongside with us so that we can help Phil, take care of these kids, whatever part of it that we can do, whether it's the food budget or it's the electrical budget or whatever, because it's all a part of helping to free these children from the sex trade. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Dani Johnson. Go to kingsransom.org right now. Don't just give, but make a commitment to give consistently. And don't just give consistently, start using your mouth. Share today's show on all of your social media. Share today's program in your email. Share it. Text it. You can grab the link right from your phone that you're on way too much anyway, that you're paying $200 a month for. You can stop doing that too. You can start taking a portion of it and put it towards something that's being healing and restoration and deliverance from a horrific victimized situation. Here's the bottom line of what I know. That when you hear the cry of the poor, and this is not only the poor physically, this is the poor of spirit, that when there's a promise for them, then he says that when you cry, he will hear you. But if you ignore this cry of these poor girls, then when you cry, you will also not be heard. So don't be stupid. Just go to kingsransom.org. Don't tell me I'm trying to give you a guilt trip, because I am. Yep, I own it right now, because you need it. You're too comfortable and you're too lazy, and you know you are. So it's time to add purpose to money, not the purpose of buying you more crap that you don't need, but buying help for a kid who needs it, who's been sold. So we're going to buy these girls' lives right back and put them on a path where they meet God, first of all, and find restoration and deliverance, and head on a path where they're walking with him and having the chance to live the life that they should have been able to from the beginning. So thanks for joining us. kingsransom.org. Do it now. And then come over to Facebook and tell me that you did it. Yeah. All right. Bye.